No, I just needed a vent.
All righty. Okay, welcome. Good evening, everybody. We're going to have a quick go around and see who's all here. I can see the list. So let me see. Uh, right now, I'm Barb Winery. I'm the chair of the Ed Task Force, and I'm also on the board of League of Women Voters Colorado, a co-director of Voter Services, and I'm from the Greeley Weld County League. Kathy, why don't you go?
I'm Kathy Wilson. I'm in the Larimer League. I'm on the Legislative Action Committee, and I'm one of the people who follow education bills as well as bills that relate to children, and then also comment on news access and literacy bills. We have an interesting issue group, an eclectic issue group.
Okay, thank you. Christy? Let's see, I just see Christy. I don't know what your last name. Then I'll go on to Evie.
No, Christy's here.
Oh, is she?
Hi, Christy.
Okay.
We're just looking for self-introductions.
Yeah, your name and your league.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, now we
Yes.
can.
I was moving between mics. So I am not in the league officially, though I follow your work. My name is Christy. I live in the Thornton area. I'm a librarian. I was very moved by Kathy attending yesterday at the SB 2563 hearing, and some of my colleagues are also participants. So I just wanted to see and follow your work. In particular, this is a very important issue.
Oh, thank you.
Excellent.
Thanks
Welcome.
for joining us, and welcome. You're always welcome here. Debbie Vink, sorry.
Oh, hello. Sorry, I just got in. Are we introducing ourselves?
Just your name and league. Yeah.
Okay, Debbie Vink from the Boulder County League of Women Voters.
Okay, thank you. Yvonne?
Yvonne Salfinger at Estes Park.
Thank you. Welcome. Christine?
Hi, Christine Jensen, Denver.
Oh, thank you. Welcome. Evie Hudak.
Evie Hudak, Jeffco League, and I'm with Advocates for Public Education Policy, A4PEP, and also PTA.
Thank you and welcome. Frances. Feinerman.
She's touching her throat. She might
Okay, we'll come back to you.
be able to speak.
And Lori.
I'm Lori Albright, and this is my first meeting with the league because I just joined, and I'm interested in education, and I'm from Boulder.
Excellent. Welcome. Good to have you here tonight. Thank you. Geez, the names keep jumping around. Deb Stetler.
Hi, Deb Stetler, Mesa County.
Thank you. Welcome. Good to see you. I don't know. It looks like Elisa. Is that right?
Hi, Elisa Krakel, and I'm in Montezuma County.
Oh, welcome. Good to see and hear from you. Jan Tanner.
Hi, yeah, I'm in Colorado Springs, Pikes Peak Region League. Julie Ott had me at this meeting, and hey, Lori, long time.
Hey,
well, welcome. Good to see you.
Hi,
Julie Ott.
Thanks, Julie Ott, Pikes Peak Region, also a member of the District 11 School Board here in Colorado Springs.
Awesome. Good for you. Thank you for your service. Kathy Maher.
Kathy Marr from the Larimer County League.
Okay, welcome and thank you. Melissa Grimes.
Hello, my name is Melissa and I am from Central Park and I work within the Denver Public Schools and found you in my search for ways to get more involved in the community.
Awesome. Excellent. Glad you're here. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Who else? Who else have I called on? Jan
Ha-
Tanner?
No, you got Jan.
Okay.
Carol?
Carol, did you say?
Yes.
Carol Jansch, Denver, Colorado. Well, yeah, of course it is Denver, Colorado.
And
Fran,
Fran.
I'm not.
yeah.
Christine?
Yes.
Hi, we're just looking for self-introductions.
Oh, no, I introduced,
Yeah, I think we got her.
Did
Yeah,
you?
you got
Oh,
me.
okay, I apologize.
no, I
Sorry.
left. I volunteer at Dumb Friends, so I had just kind of literally walked in the door to get logged on.
Cool.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay.
Think Fran, we didn't hear from Fran. Maybe she.
Yeah, so I think Fran was still trying to.
He's still doing answers. Fran's in Larimer County.
Yeah, Larimer
Okay.
County.
Okay.
I know, I think I recognize her name. Well, anyway, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. I guess one of my plans as the chair one time was to have us work on priorities tonight. But then all of a sudden I noticed there's a lot of priorities. So I think it's going to be one of those every week, every month, there's going to be a crisis that we address.
Every day.
And maybe we'll settle down and calm down, but I'm not really sure.
No.
So one of the things I'd like to do is each time we deal with a crisis or whatever the topic of the day is, and it happens to be the Department of Education tonight, give a little background about what the board or agency does and perhaps the kinds of actions they're involved with, maybe some issues about around money or funding. Also, what I'd really like to discuss and hear from you too is what a impact on our citizens, our children, students, environment, democracy, etc. around each one. And then devote a little time on actually talking about some concrete action steps that we want to get involved with and what those next steps are. So that's kind of my game plan right now. Maybe things will settle down and we'll get into a rhythm of what we're doing. Also, I will say that we will hear each time a little bit from Kathy and what's going on at the state legislature. I think Eva Hudak, PTA, is following some bills as well. So we'll get information on the priority bills and what kind of action we need to take, which probably contacting our representatives, senators, or testifying or writing them letters. And we'll have some action alerts too, hopefully, that we'll get involved with. In my research short term, I started looking at, and I put a couple articles in things to read, and I probably should have had one more that was a little bit more updated. But before I start, it seems like, I kept hearing about the 2025 agenda. And I thought, well, it's not really important. I don't, I know it's bad. There's some bad news in there. But I ordered the book so I could read a summary of it. I couldn't take the detail one. But anyway, I just wanted to go over what they say are the proposed changes for education. The first one is the elimination of the Department of Education. The reason why it's the Project 25 dismantling the Department of Ed, transferring its responsibilities to state and local governments. The initiative argues that education should be managed closer to home when local entities better understand community needs. I won't read each one, but I'll just give each of the topics. The other one is the introduction of block grants, using block grants to funnel tax dollars to private and religious schools. Reduction of civil rights enforcement. Also, scaling back enforcement of civil laws like Title IX. There was a revised one that Biden put together during his term that prohibits gender-based discrimination. I think there's been an executive order that's already been issued to rescind that. So just keep that in the back of your mind. I love this. I don't think we've gotten to it yet. Mandatory military entrance exams. This is a controversial proposal. Requires all students in federally funded schools to complete the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery military entrance exam. This requirement would not apply to private schools, potentially creating a divide between public and private education sectors. And the last one you'll love, especially if you're a history buff, resurrecting the 1776 Commission. Project calls for the resurrection of the 1776 Commission to promote patriotic education. It aims to counter narrative to the 1619 Project and similar efforts to address the history of slavery and racism in America. Well, that's enough of that. So now you get what's going on, and just in case you didn't think it was real, it's real. I posted our position, League of Women Voters US. I actually participated in this study back in the day. It was in 2012 that put a position together about what the federal role in public education is all about. So we definitely have a position on, we believe that the federal government should be and shares the involvement with the government of responsibility to provide equitable, quality education for all children pre-K through 12. A quality public education is essential for a strong, viable, and sustainable democratic society and a civil right. So I'm not going to go through all of this, just know that we have a strong position. So if there's actions we need to take or support, they're there. And I think the next step I wanted to do is kind of launch into what does the Department of Education do? And the key parts of, well, it oversees Title I funding for schools in low-income communities. It also oversees Pell Grants. It has some involvement with vocational education. Certainly, it oversees. It was created based on the Civil Rights Act. In 1964, it was included, so it oversees civil rights and education department and enforces them through the Education Department of Civil Rights. Another big part of it is IDEA, which is special ed. I got these numbers from some program. I've been watching a lot of the news channels and they've been interviewing people, but generally, money-wise, about $26 million goes to Title I, $7.5 million goes to special ed, 13 million goes to Pell Grants, 14 million goes to ESL programs, and 1.6 goes to student loans. And lastly,
You mean million or billion? If you're talking
million.
Okay.
Million. They're all in the million. Huh?
Is that just in Colorado?
No, that's what they said here.
Oh,
I mean,
that's impossible.
that doesn't seem possible to me either. So if anybody, Kathy,
Yep.
did you want to say anything?
Nope. I'm
Oh,
just
okay.
groaning.
Groaning, whatever.
I'm getting
Well,
physically ill from hearing this whole thing.
okay, so well, anyway, I guess we need to double check the numbers. So there is some research we need to do, and that's what I heard somebody say, and I wrote them down when I was listening. So maybe they weren't. I also heard that the total budget of the Department of Education was only 1% of the whole total federal budget.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, by comparison to other departments and things, it has a small amount of money going out of it. Here's the other thing, I guess. Of course, what I liked about this one, the last article I read, which you didn't have, that if they dismantle Department of Education, that doesn't mean they dismantled the programs. So all those programs I just read to you have to go someplace. And here is the plan for moving programs to different departments. Title I and IDEA, which is special ed, would be moved to HHS. HHS already administers Head Start. And if you've been watching the freeze on the federal funding, Head Start isn't getting funding right now. So there's a lot of people aren't getting paid and programs are kind of falling apart. Voc Ed would go to the Labor Department. The Office of Civil Rights would go to the Justice Department, and the Pell Grant Program would go to the Treasury Department. What could go wrong? And we were just on the last meeting with Great Education, which they're talking about the problems that we have with money and being able to get the kind of funding we need for education in Colorado. What Lisa Wheel just stated is that if, you know, depending upon what happens to the programs and the money, especially with Title I and IDEA in Colorado, we would not be able to cover that if they don't if they discontinue the funding. Certainly they want to, their vision is to move towards a more privatized education and a universal voucher program. And they would the notes on this last article is they'd like to end Head Start, phase out Title I, and convert IDEA funds or special ed funds into voucher funds and savings accounts for parents. So anyway, I guess what I really want to know from you, and certainly there's been some issues around the Department of Education and some of the things they promoted. I was part of No Child Left Behind and A Nation at Risk, all those policies they had. But I don't know, I think the funding is certainly the most critical part of what the Department of Education does, and also the fact that they really do protect equity, the ability for students to access education. And I know they also do some research on student achievement and performance on testing and things like that. But personally, I think it would be a blow to education to lose it. I think it's at least a symbol, and we're represented at the federal level through the Department of Education. But I really wanted to hear from all of you what your thoughts are, and secondly, what you think we need to take action on. So I'll leave it open to you with that introduction of information.
Barbara, do we know what they're doing on the national level?
For what?
Is the league nationally taking any steps regarding?
I haven't heard anything.
Okay. Thank you.
And Kathy, you want to say something? I'm going to go get this other sheet of paper that I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, I just want to say that if you want to see what can happen in a state that institutes vouchers, then you should check into what's happened in Arizona and I believe Indiana, because it is horrible with what's happening with the funding. It's scary what's happening with the funding.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, and I think I read some of my reading someplace that is almost the model program.
Yeah, and if it's the model program,
yes,
they have had to spend so much more than they were predicting. It's an incredible amount more than what they were predicting, and it's just what they're funding is absolutely ridiculous. So,
well, what they have to spend to maintain it. Is that it?
No, it's what they're giving, what people
are giving people
applying for vouchers and what the people are using the vouchers for. And it's an incredibly large amount of money that is just hurting the state's budget, you know, in each one of them.
Right. Well, that's one of the things I think maybe as a task force we need to undertake and really do a deep dive and do some research so that we all have a better understanding of what this voucher thing, the impacts could be, and and what they're on the families and the students and the government and what they have to spend.
I think that I posted probably a year to a year and a half ago a video recording that I think it was Great Ed, had a speaker from Arizona who talked about this. So
I will look and see where that is and
see if it's there, still there.
I'll see if I can highlight that or maybe move it up on the, so people can find it easily. Back to Julie, there's this list of priorities that the National League has set out. And I call it my Olympic model because it's the gold, silver, bronze level. I don't know. I think these are all happening at the same time. I don't know that we can prioritize them, but it does say that closing the department ed is in the bronze level. But it does say we could work with partners to do some action on it. And I don't think the National League is doing much on this, right? It's just my feeling. I don't know that, but I would like to get something done, and maybe we ask, don't ask permission, just do it. Evie?
Well, I thought that our purpose was more state action than
Yeah, it is.
national. As far as vouchers are concerned, that there is definitely a need to educate people about vouchers. We were just talking about this in my local unit meeting today, because Amendment 80, which was defeated, didn't lose by that much, considering that it needed 55% to pass. That's why it might have seemed like it lost by a lot, but really it wasn't that much, compared with other states who had vouchers and their ballot issues failed. And I've heard that a new version of Amendment 80 has already been filed with the Secretary of State. So I think, given what's happening on the national level and that, we really should, I think educating people about vouchers is a really, really good topic for us to address.
Okay, thank you. Kathy?
That was exactly what I was going to say. I think that the voucher, the education about how harmful a vouchering system would be is critical, because I agree with Evie that we were darn too close with that ballot measure last year. And we really, and because the language is so enticing, it sounds so logical, it sounds so wonderful, so American, that I think the education on that issue is critical to make sure people aren't bamboozled into, demolishing our public school system. So yeah, in my mind, I think that is the top one priority, to get education going on that.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Christine?
Yes, thank you. This is my very first meeting. I think one of the things that we might want to start as a baseline is educating people on what the Department of Education does. Many, many people think it is the department that has directed changes in curriculum to include, let's cover this, the 1619, or whatever, Civil Rights Act, those sorts of things. They don't know that that's where the money comes from for, special education, for Pell Grants. One of the things you didn't mention, and I believe the Department of Education controls the funding for student loans.
Yeah, they do.
So they have to know that the changes that are going on are things that might not hurt them directly, because, they maybe are retired, but they're going to hurt their children or the grandchildren or whatever, to say, this is what the Department of Education does. And to remind them that our founding fathers were so highly invested on the importance of public education, because we're one of the first countries that really embraced public education for all, before it had been for the wealthy.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about the all part.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. And one of my heroes is Horace Mann. It's about public education.
Yes.
And I don't know. To me, public education is just so important.
Yeah.
To support our democracy. If we don't have elections and we don't have education, we're really gonna have problems with
Yeah.
supporting democracy.
You should go to A4PEP, Advocates for Public Education Policy. Go to our Facebook page because we just shared today something from Amy Baca-Ohlert, the previous president of CEA, and it was what the Department of Ed does and what it does not do. It's
Well,
a
maybe
very
we
big
should,
summary.
is she what is she for NCA?
Well, she is now working with the Denver classroom teachers, but she's the previous president of CEA.
Can you put her name in the,
Yes.
I think we need another if you weren't here the very first time, Evie Hudak did a presentation on what the State Board of Education does and does not do. So maybe we could get her to come and do a program too for us.
What the US Department doesn't.
Yeah.
And actually, I hear from my friends on the State Board of Education that almost all the funding for our State Department of Ed is federal funding. You know, the school funding from the state is just sort of passed through the State Department of Ed. But as far as the staff in the State Department, most of it is paid for by the state set aside for that we get for administering federal programs. And that's been true for like a really long time. So the destruction of the US Department of Ed could conceivably kill our State Department too.
Right. Well, I think that was the kind of the message. Yes. I mean, we can individually work on what's going on with the State Department, but I think I really wanted to flesh out for people who really know, like you, where the impacts are, what it means to Colorado. Deb.
Yeah, I agree that it's really important for people to understand the Department of Ed, but I think it's extremely optimistic of us to put much time and attention into this because it is not going to be with us much longer. You know, I don't know if anybody else saw that Musk has put a hold on all of the research grants in the Department of Ed. This is a huge political, I don't know what, signpost for Project 2025.
Yeah, benchmark something.
Yeah. So by the time we get something put together, it's not going to matter. I think we need to pick the issues that are going to arise out of the demise of the Department of Education, like charter schools, like funding to religious schools, like who's going to defend civil rights for students, because you know it's not going to be the Justice Department, which is where they're thinking about sending it to. So I think we should pick the money. We don't have any control over whether they cut the money. It's going to happen. So I think we need to be looking at the issues that are going to impact students and that we cannot expect the federal government to pick up. We're going to be facing a national movement towards vouchers and charter schools, including religious charter schools. And I think that's where we need to focus our effort, and the loss of defensive civil rights for students.
Oh, true. Well, thank you. I've totally wrestled with this since it came out, and that was my starting point. And I think I'm hearing what people are saying. Let's focus on what we think's coming down the pipeline, and get some more information and data on that, so we can defend our public school education here in Colorado. Christy.
Yeah, I don't know if my camera's working. It's not showing me myself view. Okay. So I mentioned in the comments, Evie is correct. Most of the funding for the State Department of Education comes from federal dollars. I think it would be instructive because it's all transparent and supposedly available for all of you to see, the funding and budget of the State Department of Education. And Deb, I agree with so much of what you're saying, but I do not agree with the attitude of we need to forget about the Department of Education, because what's going to happen is that all of that responsibility is going to fall to the State Department of Education. And so I am going to make a plea that this group perhaps considers that there is money, this money that Coloradans are sending to the federal government right now for the Department of Education, that supposedly is going to be kept in the states. But without lobbying now for our General Assembly, our senators and representatives to really prioritize that spending on education, right? They're not going to be able to do anything. No one's going to be able to do anything. But if we can reroute money and make sure that our representatives know that they need to spend money now on education, right? Then we can do things like, I don't know, have our own state level actual civil rights and special education, vocational education, and teacher education programs that are funded and that are supported by our state monies, because we do pay taxes. At least right now we do, right? And we pay taxes to the federal government, and that is our money. So I love the federal government. And I'm fully aware that the federal government is falling apart and is burning, right? But we have the state government, and that we can push and help control. Say all of this also presenting you a fact that I have a very biased opinion on this. But I really, 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 really want everyone here to push their legislators to actually spend our money in our state for our Department of Education. Sorry. That's my,
No,
I'm going to step down now.
No, thank you. This is what we're here for, to let people who've been ruminating about all these things and let it talk about it, put it out there on the table, and let's see where we go next. Does somebody else have their hand up? I may not be calling it.
I'm just gonna raise my hand here.
Okay, go.
Say that one glitch that has to be taken care of in one way or another is Tabor, because that's what's one of the things that is absolutely killing us. Okay, it's killing us, and people don't want to get rid of Tabor in so many ways. I mean, that's what's you can see this happening this year when when you're listening to the General Assembly, because of the money that has to be cut just because of Tabor. So figure that one out, and things will work a lot better.
And I was just going to follow up on the conversation about federal money and things. I think where I'm a little bit frustrated, I'd say angry, is all the money that's being held up has already been appropriated to all the programs this year. This isn't on down the road. It's money that these programs are already due. And if they're not going to get that money, I don't know what that means. I mean, this is more immediate. It isn't like, well, it's the 2025-26 year, and you don't get the same funding we got last year. The money is just being held up, and I don't know. I've been hearing what happens. Right now, I think the courts are supporting that money should be released, but whether that money really gets released is going to be tied up in, I don't know, for quite a while, sorting that out if we see it. Avi, and then Kathy Maurer.
So regarding Tabor, I have heard from in several different places from Democrats that they are drafting a bill, which would be a ballot question on Tabor. And the provisions that they're looking at putting in it are, first of all, a progressive income tax that raises the income tax on the highest income people, but lowers it on the lower income people. including capital gains as taxable income. Some kind of emergency provision, I'm not sure what that is, and fixing the highway users tax fund, which actually counts toward the Tabor cap twice, and fixing that so that some of that money can be used in the general fund. Those are some of the things that I heard in a town hall meeting from my state representative, Lorena Garcia, who is really pushing hard for this ballot question to come from the legislature. And I said to her, well, you know, we don't have 2/3 of the House or the Senate. How can you get a concurrent resolution passed? And she said she thinks there are some Republicans who would support it because it isn't a total assault on Tabor. The things in Tabor people want, the main thing people want is to be able to vote if your taxes are raised. But they may not view this quite the same way. I don't know, we'll see.
We'll see. Keep us posted on that issue. I know that's always been a speed bump in the road for a long time. Long time. Kathy from Larimer.
Yeah, so I do think, you know, Tabor, of course, is a huge problem that we've got to deal with. And I think that's always, I'm really glad to hear there's some movement afoot there to try a different angle to tackling that. That's wonderful to hear. I don't have a lot of hope for it, but it needs to be tried. So, I think, you know, I just feel like, you know, Tabor is something we got to keep beating the drum about, but it's a long-term kind of struggle that we just got to keep beating the drum, but actually have concrete action we can actually make progress on in the nearer term on some other things. So I would say we need to look closely at what you were reading from the 2020 Project 2025. Some of those objectives they have, see what's coming and try to head it off. So the vouchering system is definitely going to be one of those things. I don't really see that we can do much about the Department of Education, but it is important. I agree. It's very important that people understand how the funding works and what the Department of Education is all about. So, you know, somewhere in the education process, you can fill those gaps, but the primary, I mean, it has to be, I mean, a really concerted public education effort to get people to understand what the fallout from these Project 2025 actions are going to be for them and their children.
I really do think that's important. So thanks, Kathy. I've been taking lots of copious notes and trying to decide next steps, but I certainly think the voucher piece, the Tabor piece, I love the education, what's happening and the impact of that. But what will help me is that if you put your name and which of those topics that we've been talking about that you might really be interested in, I can make a small group of you. If we have some voucher people, I'm still interested in, you know, what the fallout's going to be from the Department of Ed, because we don't know really for sure where that's going. It's not really a state issue, but it becomes one if the funding gets lost. And I know there's a charter school group of people that might be willing, or if you are interested in doing something that we haven't talked about, that's the word I was looking for, but put your name, the topic you're interested in. I'll see how it falls out. Some people might be working on, you know, the education piece, some people finding out what we need to know about impact, and I'll get something organized so everybody, you know, has something they can be doing and working on, and we can have different things we focus on when we meet. Also, Kathy, do you have a comment before I turn it over to you?
I do. Just a quick one that Evie, when you were talking about that they wanted, that Lorena Garcia was talking about having a referral for a ballot measure, that if that happens, that has to supersede everything that we do because it will impact public education on that, is going to be, in my mind, the most important thing we can educate people about. So I'm like this.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to leave you enough time, Kathy, to mention some of your top priorities with the legislative bills. Evie, maybe after Kathy's finished, if either chime in if you're working on the same bill or you have some other ones after she gets done you want to mention. So Kathy.
Okay, I want to celebrate our great first step yesterday, and that was the positive vote on Senate Bill 2563, which is the library. It's titled the Library Resource Decision Standards for Public School, and that's the one that we sent an action alert on. That I was jazzed when it passed with a 5-2 vote.
Oh.
Because the Weld County, Scott, what's his name?
Scott. Oh, my Bright. Scott Bright.
Yes, he voted
Bottoms
for Oh, it was just exciting. Okay, it was super exciting. And we had a strong support for that bill. And so it's going straight to the Senate Committee of the Whole. That's the floor of the Senate. Okay. So because there's no money involved in it, it doesn't have to go to appropriations. And so when that happens, you're going to see another action alert come through. And it's going to be really important that you phone or meet with or send an email, I don't care what it is, to let your senator know that this is an important bill, that this needs to be passed, because this is basically, it's called, they call it the Freedom to Read bill, and it's basically an anti-book banning bill. So we strongly support this one. So that's 63. When you hear about Senate Bill 63, that's what we're talking about.
So where does it stand now? Where's it going now?
It's to the floor of the Senate.
Oh, okay.
So if it passes in the floor of the Senate, then it goes to the House.
Got it.
Okay. And we do the same thing in the House Education Committee, with testimony and with writing and everything else to the members on that committee. So it's when it goes to the floor, when it goes to the cow, they call it the cow, the Committee of the Whole, that's when everybody across the state should be writing and communicating with your legislators, okay, about passing it. So that's 63. Another one that is a support that just went to the Senate Appropriations Committee is Senate Bill 64, and that's the Safe to Tell, Handle with Care notice. And I'm excited because my state senator, Senator Marchman, is one of the sponsors of that bill. And that one just says if a child has some negative traumatic incident that happens in their life, in their house, whatever, that the peace officer that is working with that incident will let the school know that the child, through the Safe to Tell program, that the child just needs to be handled with care. Okay, and it respects the child's and the child's family identity with that. Only the people who need to know will be notified of that. And that went to the Senate Appropriations Committee because there was a little bit, not much, but a little bit of money And who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to get out of appropriations? So it could sit there for quite a while. Debbie just put in, what is it, yesterday? Debbie, yeah, you're still here. Debbie, you want to talk about the communication devices in school? This is a hot issue across the country. You want to unmute? Unmute? Okay.
There I go. Okay. This is a proposal to require every school or school district in the state to have a stated proposal, a stated policy as to how they're going to approach use of communication devices in the school. It does not prescribe what that would be, but it simply requires the school to have a policy and to make it public, and that they would have to train teachers in using this policy. So I think it, does give local control, does not prescribe. So we'll see how it goes. It's got a little while toward the end of the month before it's going to be heard in committee.
Oh, I thought it was on the 13th. I thought it was later this week.
They've changed it.
Oh, they did?
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
to the next committee date.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's moved to the 19th.
Okay.
19th.
Okay. All right. Next one is one that I was I was supposed to testify on, and Senator Kolker never called on me, even though I was in the queue. So I know. Well, I didn't get to testify on it, but it had a good outcome. It was Senate Bill 27, and it's the trauma-informed school safety practices. We have a support stance on this one. And with this one, the Office of School Safety, if this passes all the way through, will convene and oversee a study group who's going to look at the best practices for the use of trauma-informed practices to conduct school safety drills. Because with things that are happening, the school safety drill itself can traumatize children. Okay, some children. So this will look at the best practices for it and come out with a report for schools to have. It doesn't, there's no mandatory element of it, but it will help schools decide on the best ways to do their drills in their schools, so it's the least traumatizing for not only the children, but also for the faculty as well. So we don't know what some of the trauma history of both students and faculty may be. So there are good ways to do this and not so great ways to do it. But that one is now in Senate Appropriations, so we'll see if it comes out of there, hopefully. The last one I want to talk about is House Bill 1038. And this one is a higher ed bill. It's post-secondary credit transfer website. And this one, Kathy Marr, did you do this one, or was it Cindy that did this one?
Cindy did, but I read it a lot. So
yeah. You want to talk about it? We can take
sure. All it does is create a online platform, I guess we'll call a website, where people can go to research. It'll be open to the public and free to research to help them estimate what kind of transferable credit they would get by their work experience, learning experiences, courses they've taken, how that transfers from one institution to another within Colorado, and also would provide information on IB cutoff scores, AP cutoff scores, CLEP credit, all kinds of programs like that, and the pathways that have been set up for the various occupational areas. So state training in those pathway areas. So somebody would get a good idea by using this website what kind of credit they could look at getting if they were transferring into some Colorado higher ed institution.
Right, exactly. And I have it down that it's supposed to be on Thursday, heard on Thursday. I did not look to see if it's staying stable for Thursday, but that one is one that's coming up. And
Which-
just so you all
Which bill
know,
was that?
it's 1038.
Oh, 1038, yeah. Okay, yes, PTA is, I'm gonna be testifying for that bill on behalf of PTA.
Okay.
Do you
Okay.
like it, Evie?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
But
I was-
I have a couple of other bills I'll be testifying on this week that I think are worthy of mention.
Yeah, let me say
It's
one
my
thing.
turn. When it's my turn, I will.
Yeah, let me say one thing, Evie, because you're going to be talking in the voice of the PTA, okay?
Right.
In the voice of the league, just know, everybody, that we cover everything from preschool through higher ed and school finance within the positions of the league. Okay, so we're broad. So Evie, go for it.
Okay, so because this reminded me, because you were talking about 1038, there's another higher ed bill, Senate Bill 87, academic adjustments in higher ed. And this allows students with disabilities who attend an institution of higher education to get accommodations if they self-disclose that they were on a 504 plan or an IEP. They can share that with the institution, and the institution has to work with them to provide them with accommodations. And I think that's really, really important. Do you think the league would,
What's the number on that one?
87?
87. I don't know if Cindy looked at that one or not, but
I
coming
don't
from
think we've
my
seen it
background-
yet.
Yeah. No, I don't
Okay,
remember
it's
seeing
up-
it.
It's up tomorrow afternoon.
Wow, totally missed that.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be in the Senate Education Committee tomorrow afternoon.
Okay. That's a
And
good
then a
one.
bill that
It sounds good to me.
a bill that the league worked with a number of groups on, mostly A for PEP. Last year was a bill on charter schools, 1363. So a piece of that bill is coming back
Good.
in Senate Bill 153, and Senator Kolker is starting it, and it is public school financing reporting requirements. And this has a great deal of transparency, requiring every school and district that receives public funding, which is every school district, the Institute of Charter Schools, and the BOCES, and every charter school to disclose to the public all the sources of revenue that they get, including gifts, grants, and donations, which is really important when it comes to charter schools, because they get a lot of private money that the public schools do not get, the regular public schools. And they also have to disclose all of their expenditures, how much they're spending on education management organizations and student recruitment and other kinds of marketing.
And yeah, advertising. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So those are some of the key things. And so this is like every single school and district in the state, including the Charter School Institute, must disclose all this information. And currently, school districts already do. So some of the criticism of 1363 last year is, well, the regular public schools in the district should have to do this too. So this bill is like, yeah, everybody has to do this.
A good idea.
That one's on my list.
Okay, good.
so
That's
that- yeah,
next week,
yeah.
next Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm gonna be we have our legislative action committee meeting on Friday, and I'm gonna put that into
Oh, good.
present. So
Good.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad that's coming back. I was sad that it got defeated.
Oh yeah. It had so many
Too many
working
things.
parts. It had too many things in it,
Yeah.
and that's I think what killed it.
Okay.
Right, so the financial transparency was one of the areas that was most popular, and
Mhm.
people said they liked it. So now we're gonna put them on the line and see if they really do.
And I don't
But
think
one
they
of
can.
one of the things I wanted to say regarding privatization and vouchers and whatnot is
Uh-huh.
that I am going to be on a panel for the Network for Public Education. They have an annual conference, and I'm going to be on a panel at their conference in Columbus, Ohio in April, talking about how we defeated Amendment 80.
Oh, good.
And that conference is going to have lots of different presentations and workshops about vouchers and charter schools and other efforts for privatizing.
So will you talk to us when you come back?
Yeah, I'm going to take profuse notes.
Oh, good.
Excellent.
I
All
always
right,
do
well,
anyway, but
we'll try to get organized with all these super important interests that everybody has here, because I want everybody involved doing things that they're interested in and getting the information together. We need to get together, and then we can decide how we need to disseminate that, help educate people and turn it into action as well.
right. And APRPEP is producing some podcasts.
Perfect.
And putting things on the YouTube channel talking about what is Tabor.
Good.
And talking about other key education issues.
Okay,
So
well,
they should go live soon.
Okay, we'll keep us up to date on those. Are you done, Evie?
Yeah.
I have one thing to bring up before we close. Deb Stetler, will you tell them something about Deb raised my awareness about some things that were going on at the Colorado Department of Education meetings, and we wrote a letter to the department. But Deb, tell them what's going on that at least you took issue with, and then we'll see if we can recruit some observers for the Department of Education, State Department of Education
State
meeting.
Board of Education.
State Board of Education. Thank you. No, God, I got that in my brain. Deb.
Yeah. So I've been thinking about volunteering to kind of monitor the State Board of Education, but I knew there were multi-day affairs and multi-hours on each day. So I wanted to try to get some idea of what the current hot topics are. Like, what are they working on now? So I went to this website and looked for minutes. Couldn't find them. So I reached out to their information email, and they said, oh, well, no, there are no minutes. The video recording, which is anywhere from 3 to 6 hours long, serves as the minutes. And no, we don't have a transcript. So I said, okay. So I went and looked at a video. I thought maybe it would be marked with, hour 1, hour 2, hour 3, nada. So this makes it completely impossible for your average citizen to look at what's going on with the State Board of Education. So Barbara and I wrote a letter, and Barbara submitted it. And so the letter said, this, goes against the league principles of transparency and accountability. And we request that you begin providing minutes in English and Spanish, and clearly posted on the website. Or have we heard anything back?
No, well, we heard back because when Beth sent in the letter, the first thing they says we didn't get the attachment, so she didn't get that back in until Monday. But we'll see. We'll just say one of the topics we're going to have to follow closely, and if anybody's interested in an observer corps and watching the Colorado State Board of Education, we really need to stay on top of that too, folks. I'm just saying. Yes. So if you're interested, put your name in the chat. We'll follow up with you. But we're going to have to keep close eyes on that situation as well.
Kathy? I hear that tomorrow afternoon, they're going to be talking about the adequacy studies.
Okay.
And then another important topic to follow with them is there were recommendations by the 1241 Accountability Task Force, and we should be closely monitoring what's happening with those. There will be a bill. Shannon Bird is going to introduce a bill to implement some of the recommendations of that task force. I'll put the link to that,
Oh, good.
their recommendations in the chat. It's very important for all of you to be aware of those recommendations because accountability is a huge, important topic.
Yep.
Yes, it is, and that was on my list too. So I do have. I can get I think I can get a link to that on the Department of Education. I found it on the Department of Education page. Is that where it is? I mean, is there another?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Excellent. Thanks, Evie. Kathy, and then Julie.
So I suggest that we get a hold of Linda Hutchinson and the News Access and Literacy Task Force. Linda Hutchinson is very, very, very involved with transparency in government. Okay, and this is an issue of transparency. So
Yes.
he would be one to definitely get. And people, if you go on the Board of Ed website, you can see what the my brain is, I'm so tired.
The agenda
Is, thank you. You can see the agenda so you can, if you're interested in what the state superintendent has to say or what the legislative liaison is going to be saying, you can kind of zero in on when they're talking about those things. So
thank you. Julie.
Thanks. I just wanted to check. Did you email or the letter you sent? Did you send that to the state board itself or the administration? Okay. Because I know
we sent it to the state board itself.
Okay. Because I know some of
I'm not sure that's true. Barb, you should just check and see who you actually sent it to, because I was communicating with basically their communications department.
Okay.
So I did not communicate directly with anybody.
Okay, I'll check.
Yeah, we need to make sure that the board members themselves also receive that letter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
I would say do that because several of those people are former school board members and they're used to their minutes being out there. And like in my case, a marked video, like here's where you're going to find the different agenda items. So
I agree.
They should be very responsive, I would think. And if they're not, I'll go harass the ones I know.
When I was on the state board, I sent out an email newsletter called Board Notes. And I literally put out everything that happened at all the state board meetings. I took my own minutes and I sent them out. Maybe I can talk one of my friends on the state board into doing that.
Oh, this needs to be a state board policy. This should not be.
You're right. It shouldn't be
an add-on for somebody
informal.
else.
Right.
Yeah. I agree, but if you're so motivated, maybe we can motivate another board member to do it. But thank you. I need to wrap things up. Thank you very much, everybody, for a great conversation. I'm really excited. There's a lot of energy around a lot of the things that are happening, and we do need to stay on top of it and take action where we can and when we can. So anyway, have a good month. I'll keep working on things, see what I can keep up with everything that's going on and keep us moving forward. So have a good evening and thank you.